Yeah, so what I've tried to do is I actually don't memorize sales or product strategies, pitches that a lot of people use, since I find that those are really more for transactional purposes. Honestly, it's meant a lot because what I do is really take the complex, I simplify it.
Hello and welcome to this special episode of WPTV. My name is David Katai, Senior Editor at Wealth Professional. Every year, WP releases our 5-star Wealth Advisors list to highlight some of the best and brightest that the Canadian wealth management industry has to offer. Today, we're lucky to be joined by one of those luminaries, William Chan, Principal and Certified Financial Planner at Modern Vision Planning of Sterling Mutuals, Inc. William specializes in finding what others miss, be that in investment management, insurance coverage, or financial planning issues. He strives to identify the issues that many advisors tend to miss, solving those issues for his clients. William, welcome to WPTV.
Thanks for having me.
So, William, just to start us off, tell us a little bit about your practice in your own words. Who do you serve and how do you serve them?
So, generally speaking, what I find is that most financial practices, they ask you to fit into their world. So our focus is to really build out around yours. So really what we do is we work with people who value a clear strategy that we try to offer and have that long-term planning mindset. So whether it be incorporated professionals, business owners, healthcare, tech professionals, executives, people with complex compensation plans or real estate investors. It's these individuals that tend to seek our help. But generally speaking, I mean, we're a value-based organization, and anybody who really seeks that level of advice from us, whether it be hospitality worker or trades worker or whatever it may be, we'd be open to having a conversation just because, again, we feel that everybody deserves honest and straightforward advice that they can understand.
Yeah, it's a very powerful message, and I can see how it would require some adaptability on your part to serve such a diverse client set. But the question that occurs, and it goes back to my little spiel at the front, is your capacity to, again, to see what others miss. So I want to ask you, what do other people miss? What are some of the most common issues you think other advisors tend to overlook?
Broadly speaking, they just ignore what they don't know. Being in the industry as long as I have, I've had the benefit of working in many roles, different capacities, and it's just in a matter of understanding everything from a granular level. So being in the positions that I have been, I've been called the advisor's advisor, and having that ability to explain different things to people, why they're doing it, what it is, how it benefits them. That's really, I guess, the differentiator at that end. So, I mean, in terms of common issues, people just ignore it. I mean, if they, and you know what? I'll be perfectly honest. It's in the best interest of the client that if advisor doesn't know something, that they don't try and make it up, to be perfectly frank.
But I guess it's interesting. You describe such a diverse client base at the start. Do you find that serving such a diverse set of clients allows you to be more adaptable, to gain more knowledge, and then to apply that knowledge to the next conversation you're having with a different client? You can take a doctor's lessons to a dentist to a contractor's and see where they overlap and where they differ.
Absolutely. I mean, again, it's the benefit of experience as working as a regional financial planning specialist before and some of the corporate roles. I had the opportunity to work with a diverse set of clientele because it wasn't a niche that I was working with. I was working with advisors. So when working with advisors, I had to help them better understand their niches. So in response to some of the adaptability that needs to be developed, yeah, I noticed many patterns that exist between different roles, different professions, so on and so forth. So again, when you look at the term business owner, it's like, who can be a business owner? Yes, as you mentioned before, a contractor could be a business owner. Doctor could be a business owner. A dentist could be a business owner. A tech professional could be a business owner. So it's really understanding the from a broad-based perspective what the commonalities are, and then there are obviously things that you would need to niche down on when it comes to knowledge, but it's bucketing these individuals, whether or not it be based on a certain sector, profession, or even a life stage, such as somebody who's a growing family. So you see all these cross sections. It's not a matter of saying, you know what, this one specific niche has, a certain pattern or what it may be. When it comes to financial planning, no different from dealing with certain clientele, there's going to be this integration that one has to work with. And that's where the adaptability has to come in to just not treat them as, part of one box or another.
So that's a fascinating picture of how you work, William. And I guess the other side of it, just from my own perspective, is yes, you have this incredible experience. You've worked with so many different clients of different backgrounds and in these different roles. But it also, being that source of knowledge, being able to see what others miss requires a fair bit of, constant learning. So how do you train yourself? And how do you maintain the discipline required to keep seeing what other people miss?
Yeah, so what I've tried to do is I actually don't memorize sales or product strategies, pitches that a lot of people use, since I find that those are really more for transactional purposes. So what I try to develop is a strong sense of critical thinking and understanding whatever somebody is saying from a granular level. Now, whether or not it be from, again, a corporate level, or whether it be from a client level, is really understanding things in true detail and being able to connect them with things that other people may not have gained exposure to. So, for example, when it comes to a client, there's so many products, there's so many strategies out there. At the end of the day, it's like, what really makes a recommendation or a solution the best fit for themselves, right? And that's really knowing the product on an intrinsic level, not from a pitch level, but from a inherent level, whether it be certain features, tax benefits, structure. All these things play into whether or not that product is a good fit for the client's needs. So if you're just going with a regular script, a regular pitch, you're really ignoring all that. You're ignoring the client. And from a client perspective, you can't translate their needs into, that product feature that really connects them. So again, as far as training goes, it's just kind of saying, ignore the noise, understand what the benefits are from an inherent level that really makes a recommendation great, and connect that with what an individual is looking for. A lot of advisors who inherited books of business, they didn't go through the hard knocks, right? The reason why I like is that I went through the hard knocks. Like, I've dealt with clients of all levels, and I grew my book organically. I didn't get it handed over to me on a silver platter. So it really did come down to a quality advice that I provided to clients, because that was a driving force. They were too tired of dealing with advisors who just kind of got their book of business, or may have ignored them in one way or another, or just didn't care enough to point out the mistakes. So, I mean, going back to the mistakes question, it's not that advisors made a lot of mistakes. They just ignored what was in front of them. So somebody like myself comes along that really has this knack to identify issues, and it's candid enough and has the ability to say, look, you know what? Based on the conversation we had, did you notice this? Did you ever think of it this way? It just resonates a lot more, because you have somebody that they may have dealt with for years upon years, but they just didn't take the time or the effort to say, look, I want to get to review your situation, or get to know you a little bit better. And this is something I noticed that you may want to address, because it's a small issue now. However, it could balloon into something larger later on. So that's really the clincher with myself. It's like, I never was handed anything. I was always the problem solver right from the get-go, whether or not it was starting out as an advisor, or whether I went to manage it, because when I was in corporate, a big part of it, again, resolving issues, regional financial planning specialist, sales manager, business development, Who do you think the advisors came to at the end of the day to say, you know what, there's this problem. I just, you know, can't seem to understand it from this certain viewpoint. It's like, well, have you thought of it from viewpoint A, viewpoint B, viewpoint C, right? Now, how are we going to solve this issue, right? These are some things that you want to identify either in your knowledge gap or from the client's perspective, their understanding of why they're doing something.
We've seen a lot of tech progress in the industry in recent years, and now obviously we are in the age of AI. I'm curious as to what role technology plays in the approach that you take, and specifically how you are leveraging AI to better, again, identify these areas that some other advisors might be missing.
So I honestly think that AI is going to evolve the type of advice that advisors are able to provide at the end of the day, because what it has allowed me to do is consume mass amounts of information aggregated for me in such a way where I would have had to search out for some of these things before. So if I need to do research on one thing or another, that's time spent. But if prompted correctly, and this is the key word, and this is the mistake that I guess a bunch of individuals made, whether it be DIY investors or even advisors, and this is where the experience truly comes in, understanding how to ask AI questions. So you have to be precise and you have to know how to layer those questions in such a way to prompt the responses or gather the research that you're trying to get to make an educated decision, whether or not it is a good fit for a client or not. So ultimately speaking, artificial intelligence is here to elevate the level of advice that advisors provide. Now, whether or not that's how it's being used right now, I don't know. There's a lot of, AI generated images and cookie cutter material that is very basic in nature that's coming out, but that's because it's scraped that information. Where it really would make a difference is how you use AI to generate or reinforce some of these ideas that you already know are are theoretically true, but you need that supporting empirical evidence to really justify it at the end of the day.
No, that's a fascinating view, and again, a very specific and targeted approach. I see that resonating much more than, maybe to use the overused word, a bit of AI slop getting kind of thrown around in a bunch of different places.
You
But
got it.
it's out there, it's everywhere, it's hard to avoid, but there's also the right way to use it. You've given me now this picture of your operations, the way you research, the way you've built experience, the way you train yourself, and the way you use AI. Let's connect it to your clients. What has your approach meant for your clients?
Honestly, it's meant a lot because what I do is really take the complex, I simplify it. I mentioned this before. I mean, there's a lot of jargon that exists and uh, product strategies and marketing that exists within the industry, and the amount of products that exist within the marketplace just continues to grow. Whether it be it's a specific business model that advisor has that they're touting, or a specific product structure that company A, B, or C has. The clients don't need to understand all those details. They need to understand why your recommendation or your proposal, your solution is going to solve a problem that they have. So really decluttering and filtering through that information that's, again, with AI just going to exist around and grow around them. The whole idea is to really make the complex simple, help them make better financial decisions based on the information that's out there.
One of the dynamics that comes out in a practice like yours is you will bring on a client who may have had a previous advisor, and that previous advisor didn't notice some of these issues, didn't notice certain, things that maybe should have been addressed, whether that was on the insurance front or tax liabilities, or just, maybe they were out over their skis in their portfolio allocation. How do you manage those issues when a client comes to you, you look at their book and you see, oh, there's been years with this Overlook piece? What's the approach that you take?
Everybody has the best intent, whether it be the client trying to improve their lives and protect others around them, or even the advisor trying to make one sort of recommendation or another to the best of their ability. So the whole idea is not to discourage people. It's just to say, look, it may have been a best good fit at that time. It may have been a recommendation to the best of the ability of somebody that was advising you at that moment in time. But given the insights that I get from the discovery, and it's, again, it all comes down to discovery. It's not accusing one individual or another of wrongdoing. It's just simply say, look, I noticed something based on the discussion that you have. Have you ever thought of it this way? Does it make sense to continue down this path? So what we're trying to do is help people think forward, move forward, rather than dwell in the past, right? It's no different from a relationship. I mean, are you going to really, harp on your spouse's ex for all the wrongdoing that they did? No,
Mm.
right? Focus on your relationship, how you're going to establish and how you're going to make each other happy and move forward to there. Because long story short, when it comes to financial planning, financial advising, with a professional at least, the hope is for it to be a long-term relationship. And you're taking this person from different phases of their life. I've had clients where they've started, again, new grads, just gone to the job market, and I've taken them through, fortunately, where it's home purchase, children, and depending on the situations, like if they still want to keep me, hopefully they do, through into retirement. So that's what we're really trying to do. It's like emphasize the future rather than dwell in the past and optimize everything as we go down this journey together.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. The sort of the forward-looking, non-judgmental, just we're at this point, let's move forward. And I feel like in your answer, you just hinted at an answer to this question, which is one that I've been asking all of the advisors that we've spoken to on this list, which is how do you define success in your role, especially given, in the case of your practice, how diverse your client set is and how specific the work that you do with each of them is?
My success is a reflection of their success, is the best way to put it. So as a financial advisor, it's like nothing brings more joy to me if I'm starting off with somebody who is brand new that has these goals in mind. And based on the work that we've done, we hit goal number one, we hit goal number two, we hit goal number three, just because of not so much myself, but their persistence, their conviction, their belief in following the plan. So, I mean, as far as the recommendation goes, it's everything's tailored to the individual, and we make adjustments as we go along. So, being able to reach that milestone is no different from an individual being able to just go to the gym and see, results when they look in the mirror. But obviously, in our situation, you don't have that gradual view where things are getting better. I mean, you might see account size get bigger or anything. It's only when these transitional moments happen where it's like, okay, boom, all of a sudden you reach destination one. Um, the amount of joy somebody gets from that, especially given the fact that a lot of these individuals may not have believed that they were able to reach that point, or even from a retirement planning standpoint, just that sense of relief that to say, you know what, I may have oversaved. I have more than enough. It just wasn't structured correctly. Just based on a few tweaks, the numbers change. And it's just these small wins, I guess, that really bring me that day to day level of fulfillment that contributes to what I feel success is within this industry.
That's kind of a poignant answer and one that does seem to resonate with a lot of what I've heard from other advisors, but again, incorporates so much of the unique approach that you take. Speaking of that approach, and as kind of a final question, we've talked a lot about what other advisors miss, what you see. What do you hope other advisors who are watching this video take from your approach and integrate into their own practice?
So I've always told my advisor, and this is why I'm independent. Um, the industry is constantly evolving. What would have worked 20, 30 years from 20, 30 years ago may not work 20, 30 years from now, right? We've already seen when it comes to retirement planning, the shifts in how portfolio allocation works. Way back, it's like there was I think 4% rule, 5% rule, where you live on 4 to 5% of your retirement portfolio going forward. Again, right? Was that customized? Did it take everything that you need to take into consideration? What type of advice or what level of knowledge does an advisor really need to have to transition from having that type of generic answer to something that is really quantifiable, right? Can they put pen to paper or now tech tools to really say, okay, let's map this thing out. Let's take into consideration a few projections, other variables, so on and so forth, and see how it looks. So my real approach is to always be a student of the game. I don't see myself sitting back and saying, look, you know what? I've made it. I have X amount of clients, X amount of assets under management. Um, my whole idea is to say, look, I like being a player coach. I'm not sure if anybody's heard of that concept. It's just not about staying in the sidelines. I want to be in the game at the end of the day. And in management, like I've seen how it works. I mean, the it, being in certain roles could be a good fit for other individuals, but for me, that constant push to provide better advice, see things that are happening in the industry and addressing them to, again, the benefit of the client is what I really um, aspire to, I guess. A lot of it has to do with sports. I'm a big sports fanatic. And again, just using that as an example, you've seen how different sports have evolved over time. A basketball player now is not the same as the basketball in the 1970s. And that should be no different when it comes to advising. It's a matter of understanding and taking the time to really refine that art and to try and be that greatest of all time, whether it be from an industry perspective or, again, just as that professional that's supporting their clients.
Really, with that, William, all I can say is thank you so much for sharing your insights and this view into your practice today.
Thank you very much for having me again. And I hope a lot of people benefit from some of the insights I've been able to provide today.
I'm sure they will. Thank you to all of our viewers. I have been David Katai. Have a great rest of your day.